Doctor Who product and episode review. Today I'm going to take a look at yet another recent Doctor Who Steelbook release. This time round it is of course infamous 4th Doctor story that was unfinished in 1979. It is of course Shada, completed once again for our enjoyment, because of course previously, over the many years, we've in fact seen many different takes of this story. Originally we had the VHS version that had linking elements from Tom Baker. Then in 2003 we had the version that was animated by the BBC for the internet that had Paul McGann in there. Then we had Big Finish doing their own version in the full cast audio drama format. Then we had the Douglas Adams script being novelised by a few years back as well. And then we also had the VHS version coming to DVD a few years back. It was pretty much once again exactly the same with the linking takes by Tom Baker. However, this time round in 2017 we've finally seen the release of Shada in its actual full feature-length glory, seeing the missing elements actually animated. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't particularly very excited. I didn't really see why we were getting this release because I thoroughly enjoyed Shada from the original DVD in the Legacy set a few years back. I thought that this story was incredibly unique and had something about it that had a really nice little style around it. It kind of set its own little universe, an area of Doctor Who that I did quite enjoy. And then we have this version that, not gonna lie, when I sat down and watched it, I actually finally understood why we finally have this episode completed, because I think that this set definitely gives the episode the glory it deserves, the final completest feel that this episode has sort of craved now for many years. And it's sort of the ironic thing that this is the infamous unfinished Doctor Who story that has in fact seen many different variations over the years. It's finally nice to see that this episode has been released in Steelbook as well as DVD Blu-ray format. This is the limited edition Steelbook version that is at the current time of filming. It is in fact once again sold out, so I don't know if that will change when this video in fact goes up. I don't particularly know where you can get this from. I do know that there is the standard DVD version that you can buy from HMV, Forbidden Planet, your regular DVD retailers that normally stock Doctor Who merchandise. Yeah, I do recommend getting that one, because from what I understand it is pretty much exactly the same content. However, it's just not in this shiny sort of odd cartoony container. So yeah, I do believe that this is £24.99 in the Steelbook format from Amazon when it was originally on there and in stock, and I believe that the standard DVD version is only £13.99, which, not gonna lie, when I last seen that in HMV, it was actually at place number 19 in the ranking charts, and I do believe that series 10 was down to a whole 25. So yeah, this episode has been quite a popular one, and it's nice to actually see classic Doctor Who getting the popularity it deserves. This review is going to be a little bit of a double one, because I'm going to be doing a product review of this Steelbook in front of you, but at the same time I'm also going to be delving into the episode itself in kind of a little bit of an episode review format. However, it probably won't be in as much detail as usual, because hey, with this being a product review as well, I kind of don't really want to overdo this review and make it absolutely massive. So yeah, I will go into the story and my thoughts and feelings of this episode, as well as the actual product as well. Taking a look at the actual Steelbook, it is a rather unusual release. As you can see, we have this rather odd sort of cartoon illustration on the very front. As per usual, we have this label piece at the very bottom, which I may as well move on to now. It's sort of just your average thing at the bottom. We have the Doctor Who cover, nicely continued from the front there with Doctor Who, Shada, PG, we have 3 discs, BBC, the PG logo, once again, nothing on the very bottom, once again the same DVD details repeated. A major flaw with the Series 10 Steelbook was that this piece of card was in fact very important, because it was the only piece of information to actually have it all listed of where the special features were. I'm happy to report that this release actually has a booklet with it that states where the special features are and what discs they are on, so that is incredibly convenient, and something of which unfortunately that the Series 10 DVD did lack in. So as you can see at the very bottom, you get your standard DVD information of the feature length running time being 118 minutes long approximately, and then we get this rather nice illustration of the Doctor and Romana going along Cambridge there in the nice little sort of reverie bit. And then we also have the special features nicely listed, along with a description of this story, along with a very nice quote at the very top that says, "Delicate matter slightly, it's about a book," which is of course a very popular quote from that story. And then we get, as you can see, all the different disc details with the special features nicely listed. So yeah, overall, it's a nice piece of card. I like that card. It's good. Keen look at the actual physical Steelbook itself. Once again, these things are rare. I don't understand why. I'm not much of a Blu-ray collector. I just simply bought one because I have a Blu-ray player. It's a rather unusual design. I think it's had a rather mixed reception by many different people. Some people like it, some people hate it. People would have liked the standard DVD cover on this, maybe made a little bit more shiny or something like that, or generally a whole different design altogether. Personally, overall, once again, I'm a little bit of a mixed feeling about it. I kind of like it. I kind of like the way that it's all unique and different. We have the 4th Doctor there at the very front in sort of a cartoon illustration format. We also have K9 nicely there at the very bottom as well, along with the silver orb from the story. I love this rather sort of cartoony design of the Shada spaceship there in the background as well. On the very spine of the DVD release, we also get Doctor Who and Shada, nicely printed, not a title sequence font, which I do quite like. And then, of course, on the very back, no DVD details, we just get another image, this time around of Romana, and sort of the various criminals from the Shada sort of prison planet there, along with a rather creepy hand coming down. So yeah, once again, it's sort of got a shiny sort of glimmer, much like how Steelbooks normally have. I do particularly like this piece down here that continues onto the front, almost this lightning bolt kind of design, and that's particularly it. There isn't really too much to say about the Steelbook itself, because I think the main idea around them is that they are simplistic. I don't particularly know. Taking a look on the inside now, we do have 3 discs on this release, and taking them out, we do of course have this disc here, which is the disc 3, which is the extras, which I do believe that this is in fact the BBC animated 2003 version. I think also the VHS version in there as well, so that is a nice special feature disc if you'd so desire to watch those different versions. And then you also have the main disc. This is the one that comes with the standard edition as well. This is in fact the standard DVD cover with the 4th Doctor and Romana on the front, which is of course in fact very nice artwork. I do believe that that is done by Lee Binding. And once again, on this release, you do in fact have the main feature as well as the audio commentary itself. And then we also have on the final disc the main bulk of special features, which has a various amount, and which I'll go into in a little bit. But what I do like is we have a very nice edition there of the TARDIS exterior box on the very front, and that is just your standard DVD, which I'm pretty sure all of you have seen at some point. And then we have me in the camera. I always forget about doing that. Hello, I look horrible today. Yeah, then we also have the background of this release that is, of course, once again, sort of your nice Starfieldy design with different planets and things in there, very much sort of taking on the animation style from this story, with the different sort of galaxies and planets going on. It is a rather nice backdrop. It may be nice to, in fact, see sort of the 1970s/1980s TARDIS console wars or something in there. I don't particularly know, or it may be nice to maybe even get Alisek Zhang to do a 4th Doctor cover with the 4th Doctor there, and then Romana on the back or something like that, to sort of in keep with the other ones that we've seen so far in the line. But yeah, generally overall, this is a little bit of a unique release, but that said, it kind of is consistent with the Power of the Daleks one, as that one kind of had a little bit of sort of a B-movie kind of style as well, and almost has a sort of cartoon illustration-esque idea around it. So yeah, overall, a nice Steelbook, looking rather unique and shiny as per usual. On to the thing that the Series 10 Steelbook lacked in, it is of course some lovely production notes. It's literally a piece of paper, however, it makes all the difference, because now we actually know what things are on each disc, and it is incredibly helpful. So as you can see at the very top, we get a rather nice still from the animated section of the story, I do believe from the final act, with K9 there, nicely blasting the creature from the story, along with Chris Parsons and the 4th Doctor. And then we get Shada, nicely printed with some red glowing text, along with some production notes at the very front. Taking a look on the inside, we get some telesnaps from the actual episode itself, along with the 4th Doctor and Romana in the boat. We get Chris Parsons, the 4th Doctor, and Romana in Professor Kronos' sort of dormitory type thing. And then we also get some behind the scenes sections of the TARDIS, along with the TARDIS exterior in there as well. And I generally really love this layout. As you can see at the very top, we almost get this woolen effect of the 4th Doctor's scarf, which I do believe, from what I heard, Clayton Hickman did a really nice cover for this release. It was kind of an original draft piece that had the 4th Doctor's scarf and sort of a few badges stitched on to kind of say the different special features and things like that. It was a rather nice sort of almost homemade kind of style of cover, and I did really like it. And it's something which we didn't ever see. I do believe that it's on his Twitter if you would like to take a look at that. But yeah, it's generally a really nice design and something which that is rather unique. So taking a look on the next page, we get the making of, once again, 2017, taking a look at some of the extended sections, including the animation bits with a few more details in there as well, along with the exterior model shots. So we have a lovely TARDIS exterior in there, along with how they recorded the 4th Doctor sections in there as well. And then, of course, at the very back, we get the special features listing all the different things that are on this release, along with the Disc 1 and Disc 2, going into a little bit of detail about what they're about. So the creation of the story, the studio shoots, which I'll go into once again in a little bit, and then that continues onto the back once again, going into the details of the different sections of the release and the special features and explaining what they are. Some nice little character illustrations of both Romana and the other female character from that story as well. So overall, a really nice booklet, and something of which that generally overall finishes off the release rather nicely. Now moving on to the special features for the Shada release, you're absolutely spoiled. There is literally 2 whole discs full of special features ranging from behind the scenes both from 1979 and in 2017, featuring the actual animation making from last year as well, including the studio recordings, photo galleries, the standard commentaries in there as well. And the nice thing to see is if you pick this release up from a few years back as well, there is a lot of the special features brought over from that release. So the audio commentary, I do believe, involves a little bit of a similar one that is seen on the DVD as well, along with a few different highlights from the 2017 animated version. And I do believe that taken out of time, just flipping around to the back, in fact, so you can see the different special features on this release. Taking a look at the special features on the back of this release here, and then comparing them to the ones on the recent 2017 release, release. I do believe that on disc 2, Taken Out of Time, Now and Then, Strike, and the studio sessions from 1979 are all in fact completely the same to this version. So if you do have this version and you've watched those special features, then there's nothing new there. However, there is in fact a load of new special features on this release as well, including dialogue sessions from 2017 in June, when they actually got the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, in the studio and actually recorded him doing his lines for the episode, and actually just seeing him at the mic and doing all his different expressions and having a little bit of fun with it as well, a few different outtakes in there. It's just nice to see that, and especially if you're a big Finnish fan as well, it's quite interesting and sort of gives you a little bit of a glimpse into how they record those stories as well. We also get the studio shooting in 2017 that goes into a little bit of a behind the scenes into how they actually did the animation and showing how they actually did a little bit of real life filming in there as well, and sort of showed people as templates and then did the animation over that, so that was quite interesting. Also got the model filming in there as well, which involved the different studio sections of the spaceships, some of which done by Mike Tucker, sort of showing how they recreated the same 1979 style and the different models of the TARDIS, some of which was seen in the special features booklet earlier. They also have the deleted scenes, which also includes some of these sections from the animated version as well as the actual episode itself. Title sequence films, which is basically just some copies of the original 1970s title sequence, both the cleaned up version and the actual one from 1970s Doctor Who, which is quite nice to see. Get some live action reference footage in there as well, which, not gonna lie, is rather funny to watch. We have Barnaby Edwards, Tim Benedict in there, as well as the guy that played Chris Parsons, basically on the green screen, trying to reenact as the 4th Doctor, and Romana, as well as the giant massive Shada creature from the story. And yeah, it's rather funny to watch and rather unusual seeing them sort of what would have been the animation added over the top, as well as it is really intriguing to see the behind the scenes of how they actually made their animation accurate for the story, and also some really nice glimpses into the 1970s TARDIS and how they recreated that for the episode itself. And then of course we have the 1979 photo gallery, which is exactly the same to this version here, including some rather nice music in there as well. The 2017 gallery, which once again goes into the behind the scenes animation, as well as the behind the scenes model making for this episode from 2017. We also get the ROM content as well, which if you access this disc via the computer, you can browse some comprehensive collections of the original production paperwork, including the original BBC film schedules, animation storyboards from 1979, the 1979 annual, viewing notes from 2003 webcast, and numerous different drafts of the Douglas Adams script. And no, I did not completely just read that off the special features on the very back of the booklet. But yeah, generally overall for the special features, it is in fact a nice wide variety. And also get the VHS version in there as well as the narrated sections from Tom Baker, which is basically this version on the DVD here. Something of which I also didn't expect, however, is included is the 8th Doctor Paul McGann BBC internet thing from 2003, which is kind of a return to Shada or something like that. There's basically the episode recreated once again, however, for the more sort of streaming format from a few years back. It's not particularly the best. It is a little bit sort of slapdash here and there because they needed to make it simple in order to air it on sort of their rather weaker internet of 2003. But yeah, generally overall, it's nice to see those that have been added in there. And it would have been lovely to maybe see also the Big Finish audio drama version added in there as well, maybe on sort of a bonus CD disc or something like that. And then you literally have the definitive final ever version of Shada, along with the different forms of Shada over the years as well. Heck, even do a book version and sort of add that in with this release as well, kind of like a big massive bumper pack time capsule type thing. That would be quite cool, although please don't take any notes from that and actually release that in the future, because I really do want this to be the last version of Shada that we ever do see released, because I think it is a rather nice one to end off on. So that's really it for the special features, and that's really generally it for the physical product itself. So generally overall, I think it's a nice steelbook. Artwork on the DVDs are also very nice. I think that the cover of the steelbook is something which that won't be to everybody's taste, and I think that the special features also cover a wide variety of different things, both from 1979 as well as the 2017 animated release. So yeah, generally overall, a rather nice, impressive release, and definitely worth the $24.99. So yeah, that's it for the physical product, and now moving on to the actual episode itself. I'm kind of going to do a mini review this time around, because I think that if I was to do a full-scale review of a classic story, this review would be incredibly long, so I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to do sort of like a mini overall thoughts. And I think that recently I've been very much in a Douglas Adams mood, because whilst filming this video, I'm literally currently, in fact it's being used to purchase this camera on, I'm currently reading The Cricket Men, which is one of the current books that have just been released, and I know that there's a few coming out in the future as well, on the paperbacks from previous releases. So I'm in a very much Douglas Adams mood, and I've realised that his version of Doctor Who is very different to other parts of Doctor Who. I think that there's something about his style and the way that he brings sort of a different genre to the show, almost like a comedic genre, because throughout this story you do have different aspects in there that bring in almost comedic factors. When they go to see Professor Chronotis in the early half of the story, and there's this moment where Professor Chronotis says, "Would you like some tea?" and he's sort of in his little cafe, sort of kitcheny type of area thing, and then the Doctor sort of mutters to Romana, "Oh, he's going to ask us for tea in a second," and then like when he does, he starts sort of bursting out laughing, and there is kind of sort of this nice relationship between both Romana and the Doctor. And I think that definitely when recalling back to other Fourth Doctor stories, there isn't really that present. I feel that this story definitely has fun with what it's doing, but at the same time has something serious behind it as well, because it goes into sort of the more cultural side of Gallifrey and sort of the history of Gallifrey as well. The whole concept of the actual Book of Shada, and then this unlocking sort of this prison ship type thing, or this prison planet, is such a brilliant idea, because I think that the Gallifreyan sort of history is incredibly archaic and incredibly old, and then it sort of makes sense to have a book that is essentially being used as a key to sort of keep all these people away. And I think that it would have even come back to it at a later point in Doctor Who history, or even Big Finish take on a series with Shada. But I think this idea of sort of time criminals and people that have done bad things all being locked away on this planet, that even Gallifrey thinks that they are sort of bad and need to be locked away from the rest of society, I think that is a brilliant idea. It's kind of like the Azkaban version or the Gotham version for the Doctor Who universe, where all the criminals go sort of, is it the Arkham Asylum or something? I don't know, from Batman. But yeah, sort of, we have all these different things where the rebels or bad people go, but I think that Shada is definitely something that is kind of a missed opportunity when it comes to Doctor Who, and something which I'll definitely like to see developed a little bit further. But the story itself, it's just so different. I think the idea of even having Cambridge in there, very relaxing story, having the Fourth Doctor and Romana going along and sort of like the gondolier thing on the canal, and then them having the nice conversations, and even the idea of Chris Parsons as well. It's quite rare when it comes to classic series Doctor Who, where you have a character that is kind of a little bit more pivotal. Normally you just have sort of dressing characters that are introduced to Chris Parsons and sort of what he does for a living, the way that he's studying, and sort of how he's been brought into this whole universe of Doctor Who. And then you even have Professor Chronotis in there as well, his sort of mad obsession with tea, almost an Einstein type of character that is incredibly wild. And it would be great to see a Time Lord like that in new series Doctor Who, now that we have Gallifrey back. Even just the concept of having sort of this professor character that works for Cambridge, and he has his own little dormitory thing with tons of books and things absolutely everywhere and loads of paperwork. I just love the idea that basically when all the students go away, he turns his office basically into a TARDIS, and even the thing of flipping over the panel and it revealing like sort of the time circuits and things like that and the different TARDIS-y elements. I just love that. I think that it's a great idea, but it's very simple at the same time. It's almost like a little bit of a children's show type of idea, because Doctor Who is orientated at a family audience, and I think that idea of, oh, we've got this teacher, however, when nobody's looking, he turns into sort of this mad scientist character that is in fact at the end of the day a massive master criminal or something like that. I think it's something that is incredibly simple. It's used quite a lot, but Douglas Adams sort of adds a character to it and develops it further. That's the thing with lots of different stories in Doctor Who. You've got this idea and it's a little bit different, however it feels to push the boat out and it feels to go and do something different. But with this story, it has a unique style behind it, because you've got things like, well, for example, Shada, you've got Cambridge, City of Death, you've got Paris, where they actually went on location in The Cricket Men, which is a book that I'll be reviewing soon. It's very sort of universal dominated, and we've got this whole idea of a threat that's sort of being expanded throughout the universe. Basically everything has something about it that is visual, and you can kind of pinpoint immediately. When I think of the City of Death, I think of that photo shoot of the Fourth Doctor and Romana together outside and the Eiffel Tower, and I think that it's just visually appealing. And that's the thing with classic Doctor Who, is more than often falls under this certain category where you've got, say, the Second Doctor era that is very much based under Siege, and you have the same template for pretty much a load of stories, just where you change the alien, change the setting, and then change the base. And then with the Third Doctor era, you've got the Unbound format where you have them basically on Earth not doing much, then the alien comes along, Unit discovers the alien, the Third Doctor probably does some karate and then saves the day, and then Jo ends up screaming. It's the same template. Then in the Fourth Doctor era, you get that same idea as well, even in the first series with Genesis of the Daleks and the Ark in Space, and even the Sontaran Experiment, some quite sort of popular Doctor Who stories, you have that same template repeated over and over again. The Doctor doesn't have the TARDIS, they go and do a thing, they get the TARDIS back at the very end, or they've been sent on a certain quest, and even with the key to time as well, it's the same idea, getting this key over and over again for each story. But this one has a unique identity behind it. You can easily recognise it as a Douglas Adams story or a writing of a certain style, because it has character, because it does something fun. And I think that this concept could very very easily actually be applied to new series Doctor Who. I think you've got that location there that's iconic, such as Cambridge. You've got the idea of the comedy in there as well, the Doctor on the gondolier with sort of Romana on the canal, and sort of you've got the fun elements of K9 having his one-liners every so often as well. Professor Chronotis, this renegade sort of Time Lord type person that isn't all who he seems. It sort of turns into his TARDIS like a random thing when nobody's looking. And then you've got Chris Parsons, sort of the character that's brought in for the story, much like, say, how you have Craig or whatever his name is from like series 5 and 6 in new series Doctor Who. So I think it does feel very new series, but that's the thing. Douglas Adams, as I say, has his own style, develops it further. It's very fun, but at the same time has that serious element behind it of balancing out that sort of Gallifreyan history and the whole idea of that Book of Shada as well. I think it's just a great concept and something which I would love to see develop for other mediums of Doctor Who. I've got a feeling that Douglas Adams may have a little bit of a soft spot for the Fourth Doctor, Romana and K9, because their relationship is something of which that is reflected in all the ones that I've been exposed to with his name on so far, such as in The Cricket Men, and he just gets them so well. I think that their relationship and the way that he develops it further and sort of has that good balance between the seriousness and then at the same time some quirky one-liners in there as well. It's just so fun and almost makes Doctor Who feel a little bit like a space opera kind of, but still keeping it a little bit serious at the same time. So I definitely do recommend Shada. If anything, I actually recommend it as perhaps a new beginner's story. If you're somebody of which that hasn't really gone into classic series Doctor Who or wants something a little bit different, then I definitely recommend Shada in any of its releases. That is the beauty of Shada. Pretty much, if you are a fan of the books, you've got the novelisation. If you're a fan of the audio plays only, you've got the Big Finish version. If you like cartoony Doctor Who, you've got that one the BBC did in 2003. If you want generally a full cast story like it was an actual TV episode, you've got this one, or the DVD that came out a while ago. That's the thing with it. Basically, you've got all these different areas of Doctor Who and this massive variety that the universe of Doctor Who portrays, yet somehow Shada has literally fell near enough under every single one of them. All we basically need now is a silent film version of Shada or a comic strip version of Shada. To be quite honest, I'd be surprised if that doesn't exist already. But yeah, that's generally the thing with it. It's for every single format, and the fact that it's actually been applied to all these different formats as well actually shows that it is a very strong script. So yeah, I do recommend this one for both the classic fan if you've never watched this story, and also a new series fan as well who's looking to get into new series Doctor Who. So yeah, that's Shada. Overall, a very entertaining yet fun and unique Doctor Who story. Overall, for the Doctor Who limited edition Shada Steelbook release from 2017, I think that the actual physical product itself is really nice. I think that the artwork, as I say, won't be to absolutely everybody's taste. I think that it is rather unusual and unique. I think that this episode, it's absolutely packed with special features, different reference materials. If you're definitely into the making of Doctor Who, then this is definitely very much a release for you. And the actual physical product is definitely well worth the £24.99 if you can find it. And at the same time, if you're somebody that just wants a standard DVD version as well, that's some rather nice artwork on the front, and I definitely recommend picking that up, especially for only £13.99. The episode itself, I think, is one of those ones where I get a little bit scared for it, because I think that this episode has this massive infamous thing behind it, the fact that it was unfinished, the fact that it is a popular story for different people, and then you sort of end up going into this release and then possibly thinking by the end of it, oh, is that it? Because this is, at the end of the day, any normal Doctor Who story. This is just a random episode from 1979 Doctor Who. It was being filmed and produced as a standard series ender. I do believe that this was in fact an ending episode for the producer as well. I think that this is essentially the end of an era that unfortunately ended on an unfinished story. And I think that this is, as I said, generally a random episode of Doctor Who from 1979. And if it did air in 1979, actually completed, then there's no doubt that this episode probably wouldn't be seen as a massive popular story. So I think that definitely this episode may get a little bit of hype behind it, and when you watch it you may be slightly disappointed, but at the same time I really do like this story. I think the style behind it is incredibly fun. I think the idea of going to Cambridge is really nicely and visually appealing as well. And I also think that the glimpse into Professor Chronotis and a behind the scenes sort of customs of Gallifrey and the history of Gallifrey as well, something which that has been briefly touched on other Douglas Adams scripts. I think that generally that is really nice to see, and also the whole concept of the actual Shada prison planet is something of which that is really intriguing, and maybe it would be nice to see Doctor Who return to that at some point in the future. Wouldn't that be nice? Maybe Big Finish could take that up or something. I don't particularly know. So yeah, generally overall, for the actual episode itself, it's a great watch. It's something of which the animation as well is really fun to watch, and I think that the recreations that they've done with the actual real footage as well, it's really good and definitely very reminiscent of 1970s Who, and it's just nice to have this finally in the collection in some form of complete format. So thanks for watching this review. If you have any questions about this release, then please do leave them in the description below. I guess I'll see you all in the next Doctor Who review at some point in the near future, whenever that may be. Thanks for watching, and I'll just see you all next time. Bye for now.